Rocky Balboa is a legendary boxer who for the past 50 years has inspired millions to overcome adversity and achieve greatness. But this character would never have come to be without perseverance and hard work. Sylvester Stallone is not only the chiseled face of the Rocky franchise, he is also its creator. In the 1970s, Sylvester was just another struggling actor living alone in a small apartment in Philadelphia. But inspiration struck while watching the championship match between Muhammad Ali and Trevor Barbic, in which Barbic managed to face the champion despite being clearly outmatched. After watching the fight, Sylvester locked himself in his apartment and wrote the original script for Rocky in just over 3 days. The studios loved the script so much that they offered Sylvester the modern equivalent of $1.4 million. Considering that at the time, Sylvester only had about $120 to his name, the opportunity was irresistible. He turned down all that money because the studio wouldn't let him play the lead role. Sylvester knew that if he gave up the rights and didn't take the role, he would regret it for the rest of his life. At the time, Sylvester's friends and family thought he was crazy, but it was probably the best move he ever made for his acting career. This helps illustrate the kind of man he is. When he has a goal or an idea, he will do everything in his power to achieve it, no matter how crazy the path may seem. It's the same kind of fierce determination that led to his incredible passion for rock movies. He trained so hard that he repeatedly pushed his body to the ground. He dieted so intensely to achieve an incredibly low body fat percentage that he would do handstands to stimulate his brain, and in his last fight, he almost died. So what did he do to achieve such incredible form? What was his insane diet, which he claims allowed him to get down to 2.9% body fat? He showed off his peak physique in the third film, after looking great in the first 2 films. His first major transformation came in Rocky III, where he aimed to become as lean and sculpted as possible. The training and diet were absolutely insane. He overtrained to the limit while simultaneously resigning himself to shedding as much fat as possible. He simply wanted to lose as much weight as possible. He would do long morning cardio, which usually consisted of running or swimming, followed by about 18 rounds of sparring in the ring. Then he would go to the gym, where he would stay for about 2 hours. During this entire time, he was writing, directing, and acting in the film, which meant he didn't get much sleep. This routine is insane and not something a normal person could do, let alone attempt. But Sylvester was, and still is, an example, both in his work ethic and his performance. Before we break down Sylvester's training routine, let's take a look at his diet. When Sylvester was in peak condition for the role, he ate only small portions of oatmeal brown rice cookies, a few scoops of tuna, and up to 25 cups of honey coffee a day. This information comes directly from Sylvester himself, so he really did drink 25 cups of coffee a day. Each cup reportedly contains 95 milligrams of caffeine, meaning that on a day when Sylvester drank the full 25 cups, he consumed almost 6 times the maximum daily dose of caffeine safe for the average person. It's no wonder he suffered heart damage during filming, but it seems coffee was the only thing keeping him going during that time, as small portions of oatmeal cookies and a few scoops of tuna fish weren't enough to keep an athlete like Sylvester alive from the Rocky III era. He himself admitted on Instagram that his body fat dropped to 2.9% during that time, a truly dangerous level. It looked okay on the outside, but it was very dangerous on the inside. This diet exhausted him so much that between rounds, he practiced fight choreography, going to the corner of the ring to perform handstands to try to get some blood flow back to his brain and stop feeling so groggy. Unfortunately, I don't think it worked, so clearly his diet wasn't optimal at the time. But what about his strength training routine? Since Rocky II, Sylvester trained with 1976 Mr. Olympia champion Frank Columbo, who had Sylvester perform classic exercises and a daily training split, where he would train 1 or 2 muscle groups in the morning and then do the same in the evening. They did this split 6 days a week with 1 day off for rest, and this was on top of everything else Sylvester had going on at the time. What made this plan truly brutal was not only the high volume but also the insane intensity with which they worked. Frank wrote a training program that was beneficial for Sylvester because it forced him to push himself to the limit in his training. Frank exploited Sylvester's competitive nature to push him harder than he otherwise would. Competition itself is a great tool for getting the most out of someone you're training. However, the downside is that it can potentially cause people to overdo it and try to push themselves beyond their current capabilities. Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened to Sylvester. with dangerous consequences. At one point during training, they faced off in a bench press competition. Franco had a significant strength advantage over Sylvester, so naturally, Sylvester pushed as hard as he could to maintain his strength. Unfortunately, this led to a chest tear during the competition. However, the bench press competition wasn't the only cause. The muscle tear was the result of months of overtraining, pushing Sylvester's body to its limits. So, when Sylvester tried to reach deep and push his body to its maximum capacity, his body simply gave up and broke. This is an incredible example of why you should work smarter, not harder. You might see big results at first by simply throwing every ounce of energy you have into the gym, but eventually, all that mindless pushing will lead to injury or illness, sidelining you for weeks or even months. This will negate any gains you might have made initially. You'll be much better off with a well-thought-out training plan that motivates you enough to see results and includes scheduled recovery and rest periods to ensure your body can fully recover, helping you avoid injury and maximize your gains. You'll get much more out of your training by working consistently for months and years, rather than working incredibly hard for 4 to 6 weeks, only to burn out or injure yourself.